Surely money can't be this important. Surely you wouldn't betray millions of loyal players for it. Clash Royale, once the king of mobile games, has completely lost the trust of its player base, and it's all because of one thing: heroes. Or more specifically, what came with them: level 16. Let's look at how this one update flipped the game on its head and drove away millions of players and sent content creators fleeing from the scene. And most importantly, we'll talk about whether there's any way to save Clash Royale before it's too late. Let's get right into it. So let's rewind the clock. It's early 2025. Clash Royale's absolutely popping off. Out of nowhere, the game is everywhere again. TikTok, YouTube Shorts, Twitch, Reddit. It's like Clash Royale came back from the dead, and leading that charge, Jinxie. Yep, Jinxie, one of the biggest streamers on the planet. He picked up Clash Royale on stream just for fun, and within days, it was trending. Millions of viewers who'd never touched the game, or guys who hadn't played in years, were suddenly hooked. His reactions, his rage, his clutch moments were so fun to watch, and for a while, it felt like everyone wanted to be playing Clash. And it wasn't just Jinxie. You had Riley, you had Ken, you had Moogie, you had Molite, the best player in the world, and other pro players dominating the competitive scene while pulling in huge views. They were showcasing actual skill, not just maxed out decks, but brilliant plays, quick decision making, and creative strategies. For the first time in years, Clash Royale was fun to watch again, and more importantly, it was kind of fun to play as well, even if you were free to play. Look, the game wasn't in the best spot, but at least it was kind of fun to play. Sure, there were some issues, but there's always been issues with the game, but the core gameplay was thriving. Evos were breathing new life into old cards, even though some were so broken. The meta was semi-balanced enough that players without fully maxed decks could still win games if they played well. Matchmaking wasn't a complete disaster, and most importantly, there were no level 16 and no heroes. This meant that free-to-play players could actually have a shot at winning games. You could still climb, you could still compete, you could have fun without spending hundreds of dollars just to stay relevant. For the first time in a long time, Clash Royale wasn't just any game for maxed out accounts. It was a game for everyone, even though the game pissed me off multiple times on my free-to-play account. And it really felt like the stars were aligning, the community was back, the creators were thriving, the skill gap wasn't as bad and not crushed under only pay-to-win mechanics exclusively. It felt like Supercell had everything they needed to take this momentum and turn it into a long-term revival, which was very possible in my opinion. They could have leaned into creator events, they could have expanded card evos monthly, they could have added way more free-to-play friendly progression systems, they could have added new cards with fresh mechanics, but instead, they saw the hype train pulling into the station and decided to turn this into a cash grab. They didn't invest in the game to make it better. They didn't invest into players who actually loved the game. They looked at this surge of popularity and thought, how can we monetize this right now? And that singular decision, that one shift in mindset, would lead to the most controversial update in Clash Royale history. But before we get to that, you have to understand just how much they threw away. I even saw Boss CR talk about this, and I completely agree with him that if they actually used the boom in popularity and fixed their game and give the players what they wanted, this would have turned into the greatest era for Clash Royale since 2016. Because this wasn't just a hype moment. This was the greatest opportunity to bring Clash Royale back for good, and they completely blew it. Now, let's talk about why there's so much backlash for the level 16 update. Look, on paper it sounds exciting. Brand new level 16 heroes, more progressions in terms of strategy, new synergies, more potential, but in reality, it just completely broke the game. It didn't just shake up the meta, it burnt the entire player base to the ground, and it made the game dramatically worse for everyone who wasn't already maxed or willing to spend hundreds of dollars just to compete. And I'm not exaggerating. We're talking about players who had been grinding for 5, 6, 7 years, suddenly getting steamrolled by decks filled with boosted heroes, level 16 decks, and cards they physically can't compete with unless they spend real money. That one update took years of grind and completely invalidated it. It wasn't a meta shift, it was a pay-to-win reset, which is my biggest problem here. And look, here's the thing most people forget. Most of us are free-to-play players. We can't and shouldn't have to spend hundreds of dollars just to play a fair game on our phone. And that's been my core point for years now. This game should not punish you for being a loyal player who doesn't pay. You should still be able to compete to actually win without spending money on broken cards that hand your opponent a massive advantage. But what level 16 and heroes did was a complete erasure of that competitive balance. That skill gap, which used to be the heart of Clash Royale, which is now meaningless. Because no matter how smart you played, no matter how well you defended a push, much. If your opponent has a level 16 Hero Musketeer or a Mega Knight Evo or a Witch Evo in their deck, you are toast. It feels impossible to climb without spending money, and for free-to-play players, it becomes exhausting. And every match felt like a wall that you just couldn't break through. Not because you weren't good enough, but because the game was literally stacked against you. And that's the worst feeling in a competitive game, when your skill doesn't matter anymore. And it gets worse. The update just didn't widen the pay-to-win gap. It removed some of the most important tools free-to-play players relied on, in my opinion. Let's talk about the season shop, which never returned, which is still a mystery to me. That shop used to be a lifeline for free-to-play progressions, and I personally used that on my free-to-play account as well. You could grind your crowns, save your tokens, and choose the upgrades you needed the most. Speed wildcards, trade tokens, magic items, but Supercell straight up removed it without any warning. And with it, they removed a huge layer of the player control for what cards they actually wanted. Now, instead of working towards the cards you actually need, you're stuck with random, overpriced offers in the shop or paywalled bundles that give the advantage to whoever's got the biggest wallet, and that's just BS, man. And then we have the Book of Books, and this was probably the biggest mistake of all. The Book of Books lets you fully upgrade any card, no matter how rare, without the months-long grind. It was the only way free-to-play players could actually max out their champions without feeling forced to spend real money. But guess what? That's gone as well. Why? Because it was too valuable, so they took it away. I want to cover something that's barely being discussed, but actually was one of the biggest missed opportunities in Clash Royale history: masteries. Now, if you're newer or haven't played in a while, masteries were essential in-game milestones you could complete by just using your cards. Destroy X number of towers with the fireball, get rewarded. Win games with giant skeleton, earn rewards. It was simple, satisfying, and honestly kind of brilliant. But now they're gone as well. Quietly pushed to the side, forgotten. For what? To make room for more shop bundles, for more offers, for more limited time deals that nobody asked for. Because here's the thing, masteries had the potential to be the best form of progressions the game had ever seen. I saw someone in my comments say this, and I couldn't agree more. Masteries could have been one of the best forms of progressions, because if you play like a certain card a lot and you get more of that said card, that could really help players max out their decks quicker and get what they actually need. Just imagine that. You love using the Goblin Gang, you've played thousands of games with it, you reach a new mastery tier, and boom, you're rewarded with more Goblin Gang cards, maybe some gold, or even wildcard tokens that you can use to upgrade. That kind of use-based progressions would have done wonders for the free-to-play players. It would have made building and maxing a deck feel natural, not like a grind, to be honest. You'd actually feel like you were getting closer to finishing a deck just by playing, not by spending, which is the main goal. Isn't that how progression should work, to be honest, guys? Masteries could have been the bridge, the perfect system in my opinion to reward dedication without just throwing money at the screen. You play the game, you get better, your cards grow with you essentially. It keeps people engaged and it gives players that feeling of earning that card. And that's the core issue. That's what's been eating me and so many of us for the last year. This game, with the greatest mobile potential I've ever seen, is becoming a straight up waste of time for the majority of the players. A game once built in quick strategy, great synergies, and decent matchup odds now rewards whoever spends more. It didn't have to be this way, man. This could have been Clash Royale's golden age. 2025 was the moment. The player base was growing, the content scene was thriving, and for the first time in a long time, people were actually having fun with Clash. But instead of leading into that momentum, instead of empowering free-to-play players and making the game more balanced, Supercell saw an opportunity to cash out, and now we're stuck in a game where you don't need skill to win at all. You just need your credit card, man. Lots of money. And if you don't spend, you fall behind. Not slowly, but immediately. Because level 16 heroes aren't progressions. They're barriers in my opinion. They're essentially massive walls that lock thousands, maybe millions of players out of just competing at a fair level. And unless Supercell starts understanding this, Clash Royale just won't lose players. It's gonna lose everything that made this game great in the first place. And I saw a comment on Reddit saying it's not even skill anymore. Whoever pays more wins. Look, man, people aren't upset. They're kind of pissed and heartbroken at the same time. Because for the first time in a long time, Clash Royale was fun. Look, it's been like 10 years since we got that feeling again. Even creators, the people who carried the game's hype, started to walk away. Remember Jinxie, who arguably brought millions of players to the game, literally quit playing Clash Royale on stream, and he said he's not gonna touch the game until they fix it. And when you take a look at stats, look at Google Trends, the drop-off is just as obvious. Search interest for Clash Royale peaked in mid-late 2025, right when creators like Jinxie and Ken brought back the hype. Then, the level 16 update hits in late 2020, 25, and you can see the curve just absolutely plummet. So no, this is not a coincidence. These numbers perfectly align with the launch of level 16 and Heroes. People didn't leave because they got bored, man. They left because Supercell broke the trust with the community, and the data proves it. So look, you guys are gonna be like, dude, this guy's just straight up complaining about the game right now. So what does the community actually want? It's not that complicated, guys, and it's not unreasonable as well. If you even spend 5 minutes on Reddit, YouTube comments, or the official Clash Royale forums, the message from players is crystal clear. We're not looking for handouts. We're not looking for everything to be free. We just want a game that feels fair, rewarding, and fun without needing to spend hundreds of dollars just to compete, man. And here's what the community is actually asking for. I've put 5 main points, and here's the first one. Fair matchmaking where free-to-play players stand a chance. This is the #1 request across all platforms. Right now, the game is matching free-to-play players against maxed out level 16 decks filled with heroes and boosted stats. And look, it's not winnable, man. It's just not. It kills the experience. So what's the solution? Match players based on card levels, not just on trophies. There's no reason for a level 13 player to go up against a level 16 player with 4 of his slots with broken evos and heroes. If skill is supposed to matter in Clash Royale, give everyone a chance to actually use it, which is the key point in my opinion. Number 2, consistent card evos and new cards pretty much every month or every 2 months, at least for the new cards. When evos were first introduced, they brought life back to the game, even though they were heavily unbalanced at first. They made old cards exciting again. They added depth. They even rewarded strategy after they got balanced. But now, they completely forgot about evos and barely add any new cards. The game feels stale because there's no clear way to upgrade or just use new cards. The community is literally begging for monthly evos, or even just one per month would be enough to keep things fresh and competitive. Pair that with new cards every few months and suddenly the game feels alive again because of fresh mechanics. 3, this is going to be controversial, but fix level 16 and the hero system or rework it entirely. The current level 16 and hero system is completely broken. It gives stats boost that turns card into unbeatable versions of themselves, and it's all locked behind money. Now, if Supercell won't remove the stat boost, fine, you don't have to make it less broken. But then it needs to be way easier to acquire for the free-to-play player, and more importantly, limit every deck to just 1 champion slot. Look, we don't need 2 champion slots, man. We don't want to be toggling like 4 abilities. That's just stupid. Right now, there are 4 slots for pay-to-win cards essentially in a deck. 4. That's 4 pay-to-win cards in every battle, each with game-changing abilities. It's not Clash Royale anymore, guys. It's just spam. It's chaos. It's completely removed the simplicity and the fun aspect of Clash Royale, which it's known for. 1 hero per deck, and that's it. That's the simple fix, and it brings back balance instantly. I don't know if Supercell are gonna do this, but this is just what I think. 4, and this ties to my previous point, but progression through skill, not just credit card power. Players are done with the grind to upgrade or pay to compete system. They want real progressions that reward skill and the time they invested in the game. Things like weekly quests that reward wildcards, so at least something that's gonna let us upgrade our heroes or get heroes way easier and upgrade our cards to level 16. 2, achievements for outplaying higher level opponents. Look, man, I know the matchmaking is rigged, but what if they gave us cards or give us some sort of upgrade if we beat some guy with a higher level card? That could incentivize the player base to play ladder more, even though it's unfair, but if you win, you get rewarded for it. 3, events that let you upgrade through gameplay and not just money, man. Look, there's so many ways you guys can do this, and I'm pretty sure most of you guys in the comments can give good ideas as well, but these are things that keep players engaged long term, not overpriced bundles anymore, man. Number 5, and this has to be the most important thing, transparency, communication, and a sense that Supercell is actually listening. Look, right now, the biggest frustration from the community isn't just the game state, it's the feeling of being unheard in terms of the major changes happening in the game. We get random updates, no dev communication, no community roadmaps, nothing that shows that Supercell is actually in touch with the people playing their game. All players want is to be heard. Even a simple monthly dev update on what changes they're making based on the community or a public roadmap would go a long way. Let the community vote on changes, run polls, host AMAs, do literally anything to show you care. Only then Clash Royale can implement the changes that we actually want. So the real question is, can the game be saved? Yes, but Supercell have to move fast. Clash Royale was never about cards. It was about mind games, about predicting your opponent's next move, about baiting out that fireball just to punish with that minion horde. It was about building that perfect elixir advantage and turning that into a tower destroying push. It was about strategy, timing, and skill. We all remember that feeling. Winning with just 1 HP on your arena tower, holding off on a final final push with a perfectly timed log and skeletons, that final fireball landing just in time, and you getting the tower. Dude, Clash Royale wasn't just a mobile game. It was a test of brains, nerves. It was a game where underdogs could win. Not because of card levels, but because they played better. Those moments are what made Clash Royale legendary. But now, it feels like we're watching a brilliant game slowly drown in its own greed. Matchmaking doesn't care about fairness. Decks aren't built around creativity. They're built around who has the most maxed out heroes or evos and level 16 cards. Progressions feel like a credit card wall, and the simple, the elegance, the magic of Clash Royale is buried under monetization models and overpowered broken cards. But here's what Supercell needs to understand. The community hasn't left because they don't care. They're leaving because Supercell just don't listen enough. Because they remember what Clash Royale was and they can't stand what it's becoming. And despite everything, many of us are still here. We still log in, we still watch, we still hope. Because somewhere inside this mess is the best mobile game ever made. Just waiting to be uncovered again, to be honest. We remember the fun, the 2v2 games, the last second crown that you get, and that's what made us fall in love with this game. But it's not gonna happen unless something changes. The question stands, will Supercell listen before it's too late? Will they at least choose long-term loyalty over short-term profits now? Will they bring back the balance, the fairness, the communication that players have been begging for? Because if they do, if they actually start listening, there's still hope. Clash can make a comeback. Let me know if you agree or disagree in the comments, and if you want to know the most hated card that almost killed Clash Royale, click on this video. Bye.